All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Tuesday, March 16, 2021 Zoom Internet meeting of the Orange Town Plan and Zoning Commission. I am Commissioner Ozzie Parenti. Let me identify the other commissioners and the zoning department officials. We have with us tonight Commissioner Kevin Cornell, Commissioner Tom Torrenti, Commissioner Paul Kaplan, Commissioner Judy Smith, Zoning Enforcement Officer Jack Demergen, and Zoning Administrative Assistant Tammy Trantalis. So I think we have a full body of commissioners tonight. Okay, let's get right to our agenda. First item on the agenda is a review of the minutes from the March 2, 2021 meeting. Has everybody had a chance to look those over?
Yep.
My first comments are toward the bottom of page 2. Does anybody have any comments up to that?
No.
All right, I have the second to last full paragraph on the page 2. It's in the middle, the sentence begins, the commission usually has 65 days to hear an application. Then it says, sometimes the applicant grants an extension when asked. Instead of asked, I'd say when requested by the commission.
Okay.
And I assume you reference some attachments here, Tammy. I assume they'll get attached.
They are, yes, they're filed with the letters mentioned attached.
Okay. I'll keep going, and if anybody has anything, anything to add, just jump in there. But on the third page, third full paragraph, Commissioner Cornell inquired if after the initial filing of the documents and the determination of omissions in the application, was there communication? I think what he was asking, was there communication with the applicant? I think that's important to put in there. All right, the next paragraph, first couple of sentences are a little confusing. It says, Chairman Parenti stated that lawyers work with applicants all the time. They work with the municipal department heads to bring it up to compliance so that all comments have been considered. I think, if I remember correctly, what we were referring to there was the fact that, there are, an applicant will engage in pre-submission discussions with the zoning staff in an effort to, bring his application up to speed such that when it's presented to the commission, it's complete and it answers questions that the zoning department anticipates that the commission's going to raise. Isn't that what we were talking about there?
Yeah, I agree. I think that what you were saying is not that lawyers work with applicants all the time, but that the zoning department works with applicants all the time.
Yeah, applicants and their representatives, whatever.
Right. And the it being referred to in the second sentence is the application.
Right. So Tammy, do you get what I'm saying there, Jack? You can bring that up to speed?
Yes. Yep, I have it all.
All right, then it says, discussion ensued. Chairman Parenti stated that the commission is going to act on it. It refers to the application.
Right,
So
sorry about
it's
that.
going to act on the application tonight. I think that's what we said, or what I said. Right, continuing on that page, second to last full paragraph, first sentence. Chairman Parenti stated that the letters submitted from the public are directed towards the project perhaps not directly towards the site plan, or text amendment. I think you want after the word text.
Okay.
Next changes I have are on page 5. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 paragraphs down. We were talking about the wetlands denial. Attorney Schellenberg was speaking. She stated that they have the right to file the site plan. And then the next sentence says the commission should take the wetlands finding into consideration. And then the sentence after that, Attorney Schellenberg added that the applicant is okay from a procedural perspective. I'm not sure what that's referring to. Does anybody have a recollection on that? And then it says, however, she does not agree with their position.
I thought what was referred to there was the fact that the wetlands application was under appeal, but they could proceed with the site plan application.
Oh, all right.
I thought that was
Okay.
the gist of it.
Yes.
Mhm.
Right. And she was saying that we could take the wetlands finding into consideration on the site plan. And that would be okay from a procedural point of view, from the commission standpoint.
Right.
So I don't know if this should say, Attorney Schellenberg added that the applicant is okay. It should say maybe that the commission is okay.
I think she meant applicant actually, as.
That's how I understood
I
it.
agree, Tom.
All right, so you think it's okay as is?
That was the way I interpreted.
All right,
Yeah,
all right,
me
leave
as
it.
well.
All right, leave it then. My last comment is in the second to last paragraph
Of page,
of page 5.
oh, can I throw in a comment on page 4?
Be my guest.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 paragraph down. I don't believe the second to last sentence, the public health concern has not demonstrated that it would not affect the wetlands. I don't know I don't quite understand, and I don't know that it adds anything. I think if we just read Commissioner Cornell stated, sorry?
No, go ahead.
Commissioner Cornell stated that the proposal has an incomplete septic system design, which was never approved by the sanitarian. And then it just goes to Commissioner Parenti stated they never received a sign off from the sanitarian.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. All right. Again, my last comments are on second to last paragraph on page 5. Looks like it's the third to last sentence. She stated that the commission cannot evaluate the health, safety, and welfare of this application. I would say the health, safety, and welfare ramifications of this application. And then I would add at the end of that sentence, without the applicant's cooperation.
All right, on page 6, paragraph 2, at the end of the long run-on first sentence. As well as
No commentary, okay.
So that sentence ends, as well as the applicant's failure to meet with the police and fire marshal. The last part says to ease concerns. They need to meet with the police and fire marshal
By statute.
to understand those municipal department heads' concerns, not ease their concerns. To understand,
To get their input.
Yeah.
Mhm.
yes, there you go.
Okay.
That's more succinct.
And I had just one more comment on that same paragraph that I was talking about before. The second to last paragraph on page 5. Second line. Raised when the commission was considering the applicant's text change amendment years ago. I think I'd rather say 2 to 3 years ago, rather than years
Okay.
ago. It sound like it was, for the turn of the century or something. So, just put 2 to 3. I think in that, I think I'm correct on that. It was 2 to 3 years ago that we last dealt with the similar application. That's all I had. Anybody else? Okay, absent any further suggested changes, is anyone prepared to make a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
So moved.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Smith. Motion was made by Commissioner Kaplan. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Takes care of the minutes. All right, next item on our agenda is old business. Does anyone have anything they'd like to bring up under that topic? All right, then we'll proceed right away to new business. Any issues there?
I'll bring something up for new business. I believe the commissioners, we were speaking earlier this week regarding the special standards for outdoor dining and how it explicitly mentions food established restaurants, coffee houses, and other food service businesses, and how we, in sometime in the future, wanted to discuss kind of broadening the opportunities for outdoor dining. I'm not sure if that's something we want to do today, if we want to have some discussion on that, but we can definitely do so. But up to you guys.
Maybe Commissioner Smith can enlighten us on
Yes.
how the subject came up.
Yep, I was contacted last week by the owner of a cigar lounge. They are prohibited from the state to serve food or to sell alcohol. He would like to take advantage of our outdoor dining regulations, except it wouldn't be dining, it would be enjoying a cigar outside. So he does not fit into our current regulation because there is no food. But I just want to put it out there that, maybe he would come to the commission to seek to amend the regs to make a provision for cigar lounges so that they can take advantage of the outdoor facility and usage that we allow for our restaurants. It's just because the state doesn't permit them to sell food. He does not have outdoor dining.
I mean, certainly it makes sense to me to entertain the idea, if somebody wanted to, I guess what I would envision is that it would be special standards applying to, smoke shops or whatever they're called, with regard to having outdoor seating areas.
Right.
Imagine some of the issues are the same as with the dining, where, you want to make sure that to the extent the seating area is exposed to vehicular traffic, that the seating areas are properly shielded.
Yes.
From the traffic.
Right.
Things like that we already have in our, special standards for outdoor dining. I don't know, how does the commission feel?
Is this in the nature of a temporary response to the pandemic, or is this in the nature of permanent outdoor seating area related specifically to Cigar Lounge?
I cannot answer for the owner of the lounge. My guess would be the concept is a response of COVID, but that it would be probably a permanent situation.
Well,
Yep.
we listen to a lot of stuff all the time. So I think it's perfectly reasonable to entertain, see what somebody's idea is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there may be some reasons why we shouldn't have outdoor cigar smoking that I'm not aware of,
The only
guess-
one, Oz, would be close proximity to dining.
Yeah, so exactly what I was going to say. I mean, if the smoke is blowing toward people who are sitting outside having their dinner, that may be a good reason why, it's not allowed as under our current regulations. But well, I mean, I don't want to spend a lot of time on it today.
Right.
We got some other stuff to cover, but I would encourage them to consider an application.
Okay.
And then we can take it there and, have a public hearing on it and do what we do.
Yep. Okay.
All right. Next item on our agenda, item 4, is a report of the zoning enforcement officer. Jack, do you have anything for us?
I don't think I have anything for you all tonight.
All right. All right, then let's move on to our public hearings. We have 2. The first one, item 5 on our agenda, is a petition to amend the Orange zoning regulations. Paul, do you have the legal notice?
I don't think I have, actually, I don't think I have that.
I think it was in our package.
Thanks. Can anyone read it? Because I don't have that.
Does somebody else have it?
I believe I've got the right piece of paper here. You want me to read it, Oz?
Please.
If you would, Tom, please.
Thanks, Tom.
To appear one time on Saturday, March 6, 2021, and one time on Friday, March 12, 2021. Orange Tpcc, notice of public hearing. Notice is hereby given that on Tuesday, March 16, 2021, at 7 p.m., the Tpcc will hold an online Zoom meeting to conduct a public hearing on the following. Petition to amend the Orange zoning regulations. Article 1, 383-14. Article 8, 383-66. Article 14, 383-141 and 383-143.4. And Article 18, 383-174. Submitted by Noble Energy Real Estate Holdings, LLC, to amend the Orange zoning regulations to define and allow electric vehicle showrooms and community travel centers as special uses in the LI2 district, along with parameters for location and eligibility of these new uses. A copy of this notice has been filed with the Orange Town Clerk. Additional information is on file in the Orange Zoning Department. Dated in Orange, Connecticut, this 5th day of February, 2021. Paul Kaplan, Secretary, Tpcc.
Appreciate it, Tom.
No
Very
problem.
good, Tom. Thank you. Nice job on the Roman numerals, too.
Thank you.
All right. Unfortunately, I have a conflict of interest on this matter, so I will not preside. But Commissioner Smith will take over in her position as Vice Chairman and run the hearing on this matter. Judy.
Okay, thank you, Ozzy. So item 5 on our agenda is petition to amend the Orange zoning regulations submitted by Noble Energy Real Estate Holdings, LLC, to amend the Orange zoning regulations to define and allow electric vehicle showrooms and community travel centers as special uses in the LI2 district, along with parameters for location and eligibility of these new uses. Is the applicant ready to proceed and let us know about their proposal?
We are, Madam Chair. My name is John Nuff. I'm an attorney with an office at 147 Broad Street, and I'm here tonight on behalf of Noble Energy Real Estate LLC. It is the contract purchaser of the property located at 88 Marshall Road, which is located in the LI2 zone. As you noted, this is an application to amend the orange zoning regulations to first establish definitions for electrical vehicle showrooms and community travel centers. Second, to make those uses permitted in the LI2 zone, subject to special use approval and certain restrictions that are closely modeled on similar protections set forth in the regulations. In particular, a limitation on where in the LI2 zone those uses can be located. And last, to establish parking ratios for those two uses. We have two goals for this evening. The first, to describe in detail the proposed text amendment and how it is consistent with both your comprehensive plan and your plan of conservation development. And we can kind of generalize those as sort of the mundane legal part of the presentation. The second, however, is to convey a legitimate sense of excitement for a type of development that not only provides goods and services and even a sense of community that are needed right now, but it is also several steps ahead of the curve in anticipating what the marketplace will look like in the not too distant future. As you'll see, what that means are two uses that literally require new definitions. For instance, a community travel center is far more than a run-of-the-mill convenience store. It's certainly a place where customers can buy gas, but also where they can charge their electric vehicle, which will become more and more prevalent. It's also where they can purchase a sandwich, coffee, or baked good in the store or in the drive-thru, but also where they can bring the entire Little League team after a game for literally homemade ice cream and congregate outside in a very attractive setting. In a similar fashion, an electric vehicle showroom anticipates the day when a customer can visit one showroom, examine, touch, and drive electrical vehicles from a variety of manufacturers, and then purchase one of those vehicles directly from the manufacturer, but with no on-site inventory of vehicles. While Connecticut law does not currently permit the direct sale of vehicles to customers, we believe that it's only a matter of time when the auto industry and Connecticut law catches up to the rest of the marketplace. And when the law permits, this facility will be poised to be one of the first in Connecticut. And while we are proposing these two new uses, we have not worked from an entirely clean slate. As you'll see, we have taken care to incorporate the same guidelines and protections that the regulations provide for other similar uses and have included them in our proposed regulations. Those protections include a strict location requirement in the LI2 zone, but also proximity to I-95. As a result, it will enhance a true gateway location into the town and will also dramatically improve the area from an economic development and real property tax perspective. This will also further the ability of the town to maintain a strong residential and agrarian character by creating a robust tax base in the southeast portion of the town. This type of fresh approach really is dependent upon a developer who has a unique set of traits that include creativity, foresight, commitment to his brand, commitment to the community where he does business, and an established track record of success. So before we discuss the regulations in detail, I want to introduce the principal of Noble Energy, Michael Frisby, who can share with you some of his experiences and his thoughts. Michael.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, John. My name is Michael Frisby. I'm the owner of Noble Energy Real Estate Holdings. My office is in Hartford. I live in Somers, Connecticut. I started Noble Energy Real Estate Holdings about 7 years ago with the idea of creating a network of fueling centers and other food offerings that I thought where the industry was going. So I just wanted to share with you a couple of examples of some of the out-of-the-box thinking that I have. I first bought the Guida Family Homestead in New Britain a few years ago, and it was a gateway site into New Britain coming off of 84, 6.5 acres. Other developers had tried to develop the property and change the zone for residential. They weren't successful. I knew the history of the Guida family. They used to serve ice cream in their barn. It started in 1945 and closed down in 1997. I went to Ice Cream University, learned how to make ice cream, and I brought ice cream back to New Britain. We developed our own ice cream shop, as you can see on the picture there. It's a high level development, high-level finish. We make our own ice cream. We have a lot of fun there. So we also have a wholesale license and sell it inside our convenience stores. But that's an example of thinking outside the box, bringing something back to the community that was revered for the years. And we've been open for about 5 years there now, and we're going to try to expand our brand into the new Noble markets and fueling centers, and you'll see that in a little bit. Another example of a project that was out of the box thinking was I bought 5 residential lots in downtown Hartford. And the city's view on this property was always they wanted high-end condos. They want people living downtown. It was a tough section near the Capitol and near the Hartford Hospital. I went to the neighborhood association, worked with them, worked with the staff, and convinced them that if they wanted people to live downtown, they needed to have nicer services for folks instead of driving outside of Hartford to get them. And we did a combined project, multi-use project that I have retail on the first floor and I have residential units on the second and third story. I was fortunate enough we were awarded with the Connecticut Main Street Award for our design, and we really lifted up this section of the city, and we can see some real improvements there. And I think not only are the neighbors happy, but the city officials and folks that live and work in that area are really pleased with what we've created. So with that said, I'm trying to envision what the future of transportation looks like, and in doing that, we're installing electric vehicle chargers at all of our existing locations. We have 6 in Connecticut right now, and we have a few other properties like this one under agreement that we want to establish not only a better offering in general, but what the future might hold. We're building for the next 30 years, not for the existing. So with that said, we're going to add electric vehicle chargers, in addition to the gas. And as the gas goes away, we'll be able to add more electric vehicle chargers. Inside the facility, we'll have a high-end level finish. We'll have our breakfast and coffee offering. We'll have a deli offering. We'll have our fresh homemade ice cream as well. And the Noble market is expanding to allow for higher end food offerings, so better quality. The way I describe our business is we really want to appease the soccer moms, the moms that are driving minivans that are coming in with their kids. They want a clean, well-lit, safe environment that has good quality food offerings. And I think we're bringing that to the next level. We have a bigger facility with indoor seating, better bathrooms, outdoor seating, all the things that I think people really would like. With regard to electric vehicles, we're creating the showroom and service center. I call it the EV Apple Store. It's a facility that is a nice quality building that allows folks to come in and see and touch and feel the different type of electric vehicles, but they can also test drive it and see how it really acts. But it's not a sea of cars on a lot, and you're not going to have the type of service that you'll have for a regular, gas-powered vehicle. With that, I toss it back to John, and I'm certainly welcome to answer any questions that you might have further on in the presentation.
Thanks, Michael. And I think the examples that Michael gave us, demonstrate not only is the thinking outside the box, but also not a one-size-fits-all sort of approach to things. He tailors his developments to the community. And I think the Hartford project in particular reflects that, and certainly the creativity of acquiring the guided piece in New Britain and going the extra mile or extra miles to actually learn how to make ice cream I think it's a really fascinating story. And I think Michael will be a wonderful addition to the town of Orange. So why don't we go to the next slide and we can actually take you through the proposed regulation change. Okay, so here we have, and what you'll see is, what we're doing in the regulation amendment is very straightforward. We're proposing 2 new definitions, obviously, one for electrical vehicle showroom, and we can just read through that very simply. Let me slide this over. An establishment providing for the display and or sale of electrical vehicles of one or more manufacturers. As you may know, there's a lot more different EV manufacturers than just Tesla. And obviously, as more and more states require or eliminate the sale of gasoline vehicles. And, Connecticut may be one of those at some points. Obviously, more manufacturers will become prevalent in the marketplace. An EV showroom may provide charging stations, service and maintenance for electrical vehicles, and indoor and outdoor display of electric vehicles, and shall not include inventory or storage of vehicles for sale. And that's consistent with buying a car directly from the manufacturer. Though, as Michael said, there won't be a sea of cars sitting outside. The community travel center is a retail establishment with more than 5,000 square feet of gross floor area. Right now, your regulations for the C1 zone, which don't really apply to us, have a maximum of 2,800 square feet. So no more than 5,000 square feet, providing the sale of gasoline, convenience goods, food and beverage prepared on-site for carryout or on-premise consumption. A community travel center may also include a drive-through, indoor and outdoor seating, and shall provide for electrical vehicle charging stations and outdoor amenities. Okay, next slide, please. So we're proposing the addition in 383-66 as special uses, which obviously require a public hearing before the commission. So community travel centers provided that. And you'll see, as I mentioned, we're taking a lot of the protections and precautions that exist elsewhere in your regulations and including them in our proposed regulations. So the first one, the subject property is frontage on or is immediately adjacent to a non-access highway. This is currently existing in the LI2 zone and pertains to hotel uses. Outdoor storage and display of merchandise typically sold as automotive and convenience related items are permitted. I mean, oftentimes you'll see, just the typical sort of thing that a traveler may need for outdoor display. We're not proposing, a Home Depot sort of outdoor display, just the typical convenience items that a traveler may want. In addition, a community travel center under the subsection may also include year-round outdoor dining. It's interesting that we just had the discussion regarding the smoke shop. Certainly, I think people have, out of necessity, become much more accustomed to outdoor dining. I think, Michael is contemplating maybe even sort of like a fire pit where people can congregate. And so certainly there's no harm if someone wants to, bundle up and sit outside on a 40-degree afternoon and enjoy their ice cream or their coffee, that there's, that would also add sort of a nice feeling of camaraderie to a facility like this. Again, this is the next section is taken directly from your regs. Gasoline pumps for the sale of gasoline shall not be located closer than 2,500 feet than where another gasoline station is located. All gasoline pumps must be serviced by an overhead canopy. Again, must comply with all building setbacks. Gasoline pumps shall meet the design and safety standards of the building department and fire marshal's office, and the location of gasoline pumps shall be designed so as to isolate vehicles being fueled from vehicles entering and exiting the site and from on-site pedestrian traffic. Again, taken from your service station regulations in the C1 zone. Obviously, the electric vehicle showroom is brand new. The subject property is frontage or is immediately adjacent to a non-access highway. Again, similar to the hotel use in the LI2 zone. Outdoor storage and display of electrical vehicles are permitted, again, but not large inventory, but certainly there would be a sampling of vehicles that people could test drive. In addition, electric vehicles center under this subsection may also include indoor and outdoor function space. And notwithstanding the provisions of Article 13, 383, 121, outdoor storage and outdoor displays are permitted. So the next slide is special standards for drive-throughs and service windows. We're simply adding community travel centers in LI2 zones are permitted to have a drive-through service window. And then the last provision before we get to parking is special standards for outdoor restaurant seating. We just thought, that again, in response to COVID, but also I think because dining outside, that you may want to provide the opportunity for all restaurants in town to provide year-round dining, considering that I think people have come to enjoy that opportunity, when the weather permits. And then the last slide is just parking standards for the two proposed uses. You can go to the next slide. And simply electric vehicle showroom, 2 spaces per 1,000 square feet of showroom, plus 4 spaces for each service bay. And the community travel center is 4 spaces per 1,000 square feet for retail, plus 8 spaces per 1,000 square feet for restaurant area. So that's the proposed regulations. Again, we believe that they are for the sort of unique and new types of uses. They are very modest in what we are requesting. As I said, they take their cue from your existing regulations in terms of the types of protections that they offer. We have provided a narrative that provides additional background with regard to the proposed uses as well as the regulation amendment. We've also provided commentary as to how this complies with your plan of conservation and development. I would tell you that when you're acting on a regulation amendment, you are acting in a legislative capacity. And you are, while you are under statute supposed to consider the plan of conservation and development, you must determine that it is consistent with your comprehensive plan. And as I'm sure you all know, the comprehensive plan is different from your plan of conservation and development. It is found in your regulations and it's found in your zoning map. And if you look at the other uses that are permitted in the LI2 zone, I think you'll find that the 2 uses that we propose are entirely consistent with those other types of uses that are permitted either as a permitted use or as a special use in the LI2 zone. We want to take an opportunity, Kevin Soley, who's a professional engineer, is with us also. And we want to take an opportunity to show you what this might look like on the property that Michael's under contract to purchase. We understand that this is not a site plan application, it's not the special use application, but I think it always helps commissions to envision, the practical implications of a regulation amendment if you can actually apply it to a specific site. So at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Kevin, and he can briefly walk you through some concept plans that we have for this site.
Thanks, John. For the record, my name is Kevin Soley. I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of Connecticut with Soley Engineering. So as John mentioned, John did a great job of running through the details of the proposed regulation amendment. And again, it would really apply for this use in the LI2 district. And with the protection measures that we put in place for the commission to consider, really restricts how this could be applied and where it could be applied. As John mentioned, Mike is a potential contract purchaser for a piece of property on Marsh Hill Road. And we're very excited because whenever we've worked with Mike on a number of projects, whenever he finds a new location, it's really exciting to figure out how we can make something work that fits into his vision and fits into the overall goals of what he's looking to do. So what this plan shows is essentially how this could potentially lay out on this property if the commission were to view this regulation amendment favorably. And what it does is with his use, it's a little bit different and really is the future of transportation because it plans for not only just the sale of conventional gasoline, but it also includes a charging canopy for electric vehicle charging. So a similar instance of where, you're able to go to a gas station and fill up your car under a canopy, under cover, protected from the elements. He's looking to incorporate that same exact premise for electric vehicle charging. And with the technology and electric vehicle charging advancing as it is, pretty soon you're going to be able to have the rapid DC fast chargers, which can provide you with a full charge in, they say estimated 12 to 15 minutes, and which is really why he builds the additional amenities into his facilities, or he's planning to do this, as it creates an opportunity to go in and grab a sandwich, grab a coffee, enjoy a nice outdoor, an area to sit down and enjoy some of the, other amenities we can build into one of these facilities. And then in addition, with this particular property, its proximity to 95, it creates a really unique opportunity to provide for a place for this electric vehicle showroom to sit and really kind of be a really nice feature for the town and for the region, to kind of really serve as have some really nice architectural design, really nice elements to it, and kind of create some really nice visibility off of 95 and really kind of serve the broader area. And we're working with Mike on a number of projects. He's looking to roll this out in a number of different locations throughout the state. So we do have just some really quick images of some of the architectural elements that he's looking to do with these, and it's much more upgraded because he really wants to create a really nice aesthetic that can show, you know, the breadth of what's offered, in addition to just the market with the convenience, but also the ice cream and the sandwich shop and the coffee program, et cetera. And then with the EV showroom, you know, we're really proud to work with him and his architectural team on coming up with some really nice design elements, which kind of create a really cool, you know, signature piece, which could be a great addition to, I think, a lot of different communities. And we're excited to be here tonight with you to talk about how the town of Orange would look at and consider a regulation amendment, which would really allow and create an opportunity for this to kind of come to the community. So, you know, with that, I think that's a really basic, brief overview. And again, as John mentioned, the application before you was to modify the regulations to basically create an opportunity for this use to come to the community. And I think we'd be happy to answer any questions that the commission may have to talk through the application.
Thanks, Kevin. You know, one other thing that I'd like to point out on the site plan is, again, a little bit of Michael's forward thinking. I mean, certainly you are all aware that there is an Amazon facility on Boston Post Road. And obviously most of those Sprinter vans are all gasoline. You know, what Michael has done is provided, you know, some larger parking bays for the EV charging stations. So when the day inevitably comes when those vehicles are electric and need to be charged, they can come here and do that. So it's a really wonderful opportunity for the community in terms of, you know, obviously enhancing air quality, but also an example of Mike's, you know, trying to be as comprehensive of a thinker as possible. But we're happy to answer all the questions. As I said, I think the application that's before you is relatively straightforward in terms of the amendment to the regulations, and we don't want to stray too deep into the site plan, but we'd be happy to hear any comments on either.
John, Judy Smith here. How large is the parcel?
The parcel, Kevin?
It's hang on one second. It's approximately 4 acres.
And did you give any thought to putting coverage requirements, maximum minimums in? Impervious surface, overall coverage for as part of the proposal?
Not beyond what's already required in the zone.
Okay. And can you explain a little bit about the electric vehicle showroom? So currently in Connecticut, you cannot buy an electrical vehicle from a dealership?
No. The idea is that currently you cannot buy any vehicle directly from the manufacturer. You have to work through a dealer. And as you may know, there's been various bills before the legislature over the years where you can buy directly from the manufacturer. So we believe that, you know, the day is coming because of, you know, if you have you know, this collection of EV manufacturers, they won't be able to create an entire network of dealerships. And so what they will need, however, is a place where, you know, a customer can go and shop a variety of brands in one location, you know, sit in, touch, drive, and, you know, work out pricing, and then buy directly from the manufacturer.
Okay. And can you speak to the, you know, in looking at the zoning map showing our different zones, where else could such a business exist? Would it be on all 4 corners?
No, well, that's a good question. So if we can zoom in a little bit, is that possible? I mean, obviously we're looking at the LI2 zone directly at the Marsh Hill exits. What our regulations provide with regard to both uses is the subject property has frontage on or is immediately adjacent to a non-access highway of Interstate 95 or its access ramp and frontage on Marsh Hill Road. So applying that, I think you could probably be at the 4 corners, but, you know, those properties are currently utilized. So this is probably the only property as a practical matter where these facilities could be located.
Okay. And then, as we know, John, it's the use, not the user. Michael has a great concept.
No, understood.
If the community travel center were to leave, what could replace it? A McDonald's? Like, what do you envision could match the definition of the community travel center that we might know?
Oh, that's a very interesting question. Let's look at the definition of a community travel center. Well, I mean, you could have a more traditional convenience store, certainly, and would be allowed to be up to 5,000 square feet. But it also says shall provide for electric vehicles charging stations. So you couldn't do a traditional convenience store unless you're willing to provide electric vehicle charging stations as well and outdoor amenities. So you'd have to provide the same sort of basic structure as what Michael is creating.
Okay. All right, thank you. Do other commissioners have questions for the applicant?
So that gets to my point where it appears to me from a first reading that the only difference between this and a Cumberland Farms or even the pilot gas station off exit 40, one exit west, is a nice facade, and a better grade of coffee. Can perhaps the applicant could explain why this isn't just going to be, a gasoline station off a interstate, and as the economics for gasoline change, they evolve into an electric station like all other gasoline stations will have to in the future.
Sure, I'd like to address that. Thank you. I can address that, Kevin. So with regard to the offerings inside, one of the things that will set us apart from a Cumberland Farms or any other convenience store here in New England is the quality of the offering. So we created our own Noble Brew and Breakfast program, which is simple but good. It's a better quality coffee, it's a better pastry, it's a better breakfast sandwich, but we don't have 100 different items on the menu. We're not, it's not really fast food, but it is fast food. I've become a Nardelli's franchisee because I like the Nardelli product. And in this particular location, there is a Nardelli's in Milford at Old Gate Plaza. We're trying to convince that franchisee to come into this building, assuming that we get approved and we have the text amendment and we go through site plan. But I am a Nardelli's franchisee, and we're going to be putting Nardelli's in multiple locations throughout the state. So again, it's a higher level product. It's not a Subway. I'm not a Subway eater. Inside our market, we partnered with Nayla's Kitchen, which is a more of a gourmet / grab and go type offering. They're a Connecticut-based business like Nardelli's. And we're putting those in our stores so people can have offerings where it's not just fast food. So it's more of a market presence. The other thing is the ice cream. We're trying to create and bring more of a community feel to our sites where people want to be on sites. The traditional gas station convenience stores like the Cumberland Farms or the 7-Elevens of the world, what they want is people to get in and get out. They want them to be in and out of the property, take as much money as they can and go. I believe the future really is going to be focused around this type of community offering where people can come and enjoy a nice product, after a soccer game or, while they're on the road. And we'll have a nice indoor seating area, which is a lot more comfortable and nicer than you're ever going to see in a travel plaza or any other place. The outdoor seating area, and if you look at a Cumberland Farms, they may put a patio on there, but it's like 300 square feet next to the building that I only see people, that are working there taking a break, smoking cigarettes. I want to have a nice quality outdoor venue where we have a fire pit, we have people sitting outside and enjoying that. And again, we're Connecticut-based. Nardelli's is Connecticut-based. Frisby's Connecticut-based. We live and work here, and I think this type of offering can be done at a much nicer, higher level, and that's what I aspire to do there. I hope that answered your question.
Well, it does, and I'm not trying to comment on your concept, because as Commissioner Smith stated, you can have a very thoughtful, elegant use, and if something, what happens after you, and hopefully nothing happens after you. But if the regulations fit your elegant concept, and they also fit pilot gas station, we might wind up with them.
Couple of things that I could address in when we get to the design element, but just in general, the market itself. The reason why this location appeals to me, it's for a couple of reasons. One, there's a huge community to the south and toward the water here that don't have the type of services at all in those neighborhoods, which I think really appeals to me. I think they'll be the benefactor of this. Yes, will we get some people off the highway? Yes, we'll get some people off the highway. There's a travel plaza on 95 just to the south of us. That's where most people are going to go if they're traveling 95. So this is really, a play for the locals and the businesses that aren't getting on and off of 95 all the time. You have the FedEx distribution center, just to the north. Those folks still need coffee, and they still need, grinders, and they still need convenience store items. But guess what? We would design the site because it's big enough to allow for those box trucks to get on property, whether they're buying gas or charging their vehicle. It'll be comfortable to get in and out of. So I'm thinking along those lines, as opposed to just buying an existing station and converting it to something better, or buying an acre of property and trying to stuff everything on there. We're trying to be thoughtful about that as well. So I really see it as an opportunity for us to be in this marketplace and really serve that community in a lot of different ways.
One other element, just I think that kind of sets this aside from a lot of those other users, and even like the pilot, is a good example, is that, they're not necessarily building that larger facility, that 5,000 square feet plus. The normal Cumberland Farms is about 4,000, 4,500 square feet, and that's kind of a max. And the other component that we built into this is the requirement to include electric vehicle charging. So I think that's one of the bigger differences too, that, a lot of those, maybe older gas stations and other gas providers, they're not really preparing for that. And frankly, when the regulations change, it's going to be very difficult, if not impossible, for a lot of those smaller operators to actually shift gears and incorporate the EV charging in any meaningful way to really be responsive to what we really believe those demands are going to be. So, so I think that's something that does set it apart a little bit, because we're planning for that infrastructure, and we require that to be part of the, one of the zoning considerations for this reg amendment, that there's a requirement to provide that EV charging, which frankly, a lot of those other users aren't doing and aren't necessarily being as thoughtful with their planning.
Do other commissioners have any questions?
Not at this time.
Okay. My thought was to keep the public hearing open. This is a pretty interesting and new concept for us. I would like the opportunity to just drive in the area and get a sense of what's there. So if the applicant would like to give us more information, great. If not, I would propose that we carry this forward for 2 weeks.
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. And by the way, we're certainly cognizant of the concern that Commissioner Cornell raised. This is not that dissimilar to, a restaurant use can be a diner or a white tablecloth. We think that Michael's proposal is in the white tablecloth area in terms of this type of facility, and certainly with regard to the electric vehicle showroom. But let us give us some thought as to whether there's some other tweaks we can make to the regulation to give the commission a little more assurance that would obligate not only Michael, but anyone who would try to take advantage of these regulations to do something that the town can be really proud of.
Yeah. And also, could you give some thought as to whether the 2,500 foot distance between gasoline sales would basically mean if you put one person, your client in one corner, there's no one else within 2,500 feet of that interchange could get gasoline sales.
Okay, happy to.
Yeah, we'll see if that's how you read it too.
All right, Madam Chair, just out of caution, do you want to ask if there's I don't think there's any members of the public, but I don't want to.
Oh, yes, thank you so much, John. Yes, are there any members out in the public in Zoom world that would like to comment on this application? Okay, I think we'll take that as a negative.
Okay.
Was Jack aware of anybody that planned on commenting?
No, I didn't receive any, excuse me, communication from anybody looking to comment on this particular application this week, no.
All right, then I would suggest we keep the public hearing open and we will revisit this in 2 weeks. And I thank you for the presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Have a good evening.
Thank you for your time.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Have a good evening.
Okay, very good. Judy, thank you.
Certainly.
All right. I see that Barbara Schellenberg is with us now. Right, Barbara?
I am.
All right, very good. All right, Barbara is town council. All right, so the next item on our agenda is item number 6, petition to amend the Orange zoning regulations. Application for property located on Turkey Hill Road and Cranberry Lane, property owner Midland LLC, 179 NB LLC, and Genvest LLC. Assessors map 60-5-1, 60-5-1A, 60-5-2, 60-5-13. And this is to amend Article 14, Section 383-27, special uses in the residential district to include standards for an active adult community. And this is continuing. If you recall, we opened the public hearing on this matter at our March 2nd, 2021 meeting, and this is a continuation. So we're not going to read the legal notice again, but this is a continuation of the public hearing from 3/21/21. Is the applicant or his representative present?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, for the record, my name is Kevin Kersaden. My office is at 3 Lafayette Street in Milford. I'm here on behalf of the applicant. I think the applicant's also present tonight. I'm not sure if they'll make any comments at the end. I just one point of clarification. My understanding is that the hearing was not opened last month because notice hadn't been provided or to the regional planning agencies or you hadn't received comments back from the regional planning agencies. So the hearing.
You may be right, Jack. Do you have any recollection on that, or?
Yes, they were sent out, but the applicant is correct. We hadn't received comments from both regional planning authorities just yet.
So have we
We have
still not
sent,
received?
yes. No, we have received comments.
Okay. All right, then I guess we should read the legal notice in.
Well, I mean, the importance of it is that if you open the public hearing prior to having those comments back, it's in violation of the statute.
All right. So does somebody have the legal notice?
I think I do. Hang on for 1 second.
Thank you for catching that, Kevin.
Sure. Thank you.
I got the agenda. Let me see if I have the legal notice.
right, you know what, I do have it. I do have it. If,
Yeah, that would be fine.
all right, can I read the legal
Absolutely.
notice? All right. Let's see. All right, this is to appear one time on Thursday, February 18, 2021, and one time on Thursday, February 25, 2021. Orange TPCC, notice of public hearing. Notice is hereby given that on Tuesday, March 2, 2021 at 7 p.m., the TPCC will hold an online Zoom meeting to conduct a public hearing on the following. Site plan application for property located on Turkey Hill Road and Cranberry Lane, property owner Midland LLC, 179 NB LLC, and Genvest LLC. Assessors map 60-5-1, 60-5-1A, 60-5-2, 60-5-13. The proposed residential development is for the construction of 10 multifamily residential buildings and a single community building.
Mr. Chairman,
yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt. That's for a different application.
I know, but I was reading the
Okay.
the entire notice. So there's a second piece of it, which is the application you're here on tonight.
No, it's a separate application. It's not part of that site plan application.
No, I understand that, but the notice is a notice of the site plan application and the petition to amend the Orange zoning regulations. So it has both matters on it, on the notice.
All right, thank you.
Is there some concern about that, or?
I
not.
think you could just read the notice for this particular application.
All right, let me skip the
other one.
I'll skip the rest of the site plan application notice. It's just that it was all part of one notice, one letter. But anyway, all right, petition to amend the Orange zoning regulations. Application for property located on Turkey Hill Road and Cranberry Lane. Property owner Midland LLC, 179 NB LLC, and Genvest LLC. Assessors map 60-5-1, 60-5-1A, 60-5-2, 60-5-13. To amend Article 14, Section 383-27, special uses in the residential district to include standards for an active adult community. Copy of this notice has been filed with the Orange Town Clerk. Additional information is on file in the Orange Zoning Department. Dated at Orange, Connecticut, this 16th day of February, 2021. Paul Kaplan, Secretary, TPCC. Okay. So do you want to proceed with your presentation?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thanks for opening the public hearing.
Yep.
So I just by way of a little bit of background, I filed a memo with the background. It wasn't until this afternoon. I didn't have a chance. I wasn't sure if we were going forward tonight, but we did get all of the comments back from the regional planning agencies as of yesterday. So for the benefit of people who have not had the opportunity to read the memo, or for people who are at home and have, wouldn't have received the memo, I will just read the highlighted portions of it. So it's dated March 16th, 2021. It's regards to the zone text application to allow an active adult community in the residential zone based on these standards that we've provided. The applicants, and just a minor correction, it's not Midland, it's Myland, MILAND is one of the property owners and applicants. But they started this application, and it's the Meisenheimer family, as everybody knows, in 2017 by participating in meetings with town officials, such as the first selectman, the chairman of the Planning and Zoning Commission, Paul Denise, and the town planning consultant, Glenn Chalder. And the applicant's vision is a over 55 or an active adult community. The age limit we're requesting, or the age restriction requesting tonight, is 60, but it's in the same idea of an over 55. It's an active adult community that's affordable to the residents of Orange, not in the sense of an 8-30G deed restricted affordability, but in a fair market value, affordable alternative to something like Fieldstone, where some of the properties are assessed at 800,000, whatever they're assessed at. So it's an alternative. It's supposed to be an alternative for people to stay in Orange once they retire, if they would so desire to. So we started the process, and the applicants did a lot of due diligence. There were several meetings with with town officials and the town consultant, and it started off as a amendment to the PRD. When we met with Glenn Chalder on that, his advice to the commission, and I believe there's a letter, and I've attached it to this memorandum, where he recommends against that because that would be a town-wide amendment versus a specific zone text amendment that would apply to limited parcels in the town. So he wasn't in favor of that approach. So the applicant revised it from a PRD zone change or zone regulation change to a zone text change based on the residential zone, and based off of, it's not one for one or apples to apples, but based off of the Fieldstone Village active adult community project that was approved. And there's obviously differences between that site and this site, and there's differences between what those units and sell for and what this would sell for. So we wrote a specific regulation. Like I said, this goes back to December 2017. So we called it back then a cottage active adult community, and we filed it on February 26, 2018. There were some suggestions, one of them from First Selectman Zioli, that we increase the age restriction from 55 to 62. So generally speaking, the feedback was not of a strong negative nature. There was some concerns, there was some comments. I'll go into the board comments in the past just to refresh everybody's memory and for benefit of members on the board who weren't here when we were in front of them before with a similar application, not the same application, but very similar. The use is the same. It's an active adult community. There wasn't very strong visceral reactions from town officials or the planning, the town consultant or Mr. Denise at the time. We filed that application on February 26, 2018. As a result of all of those discussions and due diligence, on May 1st, the public hearing was opened, and your commission gave additional feedback at that time and requested several additional changes to the zone text amendment. At first, the commission thought that the proposal was too broad and would apply to too many potentially apply to other parcels in town that were not desirable for this type of use. There weren't any other stated major concerns at that time, and as the town requested, the regulation restricted the applicability of the adult community to fewer properties that would potentially qualify. We made those changes, limiting it even further, so it was kind of boxed into probably just this site. And on May 14th, we came back to the board. We submitted those further restrictions. For instance, we removed the reference to Route 1 because Route 1 was referenced on there, which would have, based on your concerns from the previous application tonight and other comments, you have to be careful about the second and third order effects of an application town-wide. And then at the June 5th meeting, the revision was again reviewed and discussed, and the commission suggested further restrictions and changes in density. The applicant again addressed questions and suggestions in additional text revisions. There was also concerns about, well, we had presented evidence, and it still applies today, that this zone text application is in compliance with the comprehensive plan and the plan of conservation and development. Just a brief reference to some of those. The plan highlights in several places that Orange has maintained a policy of separating a living area or residential area from economic area. And the philosophy has helped to foster strong residential neighborhoods, and that Orange will continue this policy. I'm paraphrasing or quoting the town plan of conservation and development. This is referenced on pages 61, 62, and 66. This is why this project is properly located in a residential area, and we remove the restriction along Route 1, which is the town's economic corridor. The plan also states, the town plan, that residents are living longer than ever before, and older people, some of whom have been Orange residents for decades, may want housing options which have not traditionally been part of Orange's housing portfolio. That's on page 65. And then there's an inclusion of another section titled, Consider Ways to Help Address the Housing Needs of an Aging Population. And that says a large number of Orange households will be affected by the issues that often face older residents, and this may require new programs or new ways of thinking. And some people will seek housing options, and a variety of reasons are highlighted there: maintenance, financial resources, lifestyle, for example, and that is on page 70 of that plan, and is followed on pages 71 to 73 by policy options and observations on the lack of currently available options. Page 72 states that Orange will consider ways to explore housing alternatives for an aging population. And page 73 highlights how affordable alternatives will provide housing choices for existing residents so they do not have to move elsewhere if their circumstances change. As a anecdotal side note, I have been approached over the past year or two by people both in Milford and in Orange, wondering if this project is going to be built because they're interested in purchasing a unit. So I will now go forward to the current zone text application. Compared to the previous zone text amendment, this is what we've changed. We've reduced, the previous one had a limit, even though the site would probably not support it, of 50 units. The proposal actually in the text now limits it to 28 units, which is probably more realistic of what the site would support because of wetlands and septic. Could it be 26 units? Yeah, it could be 26 units. Could it be 29 units? Maybe, but we're limiting it to 28 units. The application also increases the minimum age from 55 to 60, in kind of a compromise to some of the previous requests, a semi-compromise. It increases the minimum acreage required, decreases density, maximum building coverage from 30% to 15%, and floor area ratio from 50% to 30%. Vin Marino, town council, had comments about who's responsible for the sanitation system, and he had requested that it specifically cite in the regulation who's responsible, and new unallowed use being added allowed on Fieldstone Village with minor differences than what's being proposed here. We're back to the beginning of my presentation.
This is to share our perspective on the application for the proposed development for the construction of 10 multi-residential buildings in a single community building. The number of multifamily residential units per building does not appear to be specified in item 5 of the Town Planning and Zoning Commission meeting agenda. The findings in this prior application for multiple buildings with multiple units on Turkey Hill Road revealed significant septic system limitations and other major constraints. The project was not feasible. A 10-building project with multiple units per building appears very unlikely to meet septic system requirements. Further, the construction of such multiple buildings in the proposed area poses significant septic system and wetland-related risks to the existing neighboring family properties. Thank you for considering the significant concerns above. Signed, Paul and Arden Katz of 490 Turkey Hill Road. Next letter, dated Wednesday, March 3rd. Dear Jack and members of the Orange Planning and Zoning Commission, I'm sharing with you why I oppose the most recent October 5th, 2020 submission by Midland LLC, and they go on to list the 2 agenda items related to this property. My opposition is due to the following. Current Orange residential zoning for single-family homes is a minimum of 60,000 square feet. If the proposed zoning regulation change is approved for this specific residential area, then it opens up the opportunity for other developments to petition the town to do the same. Next line. It does not make sense to build an adult community in a residential neighborhood. There is no public sewer system access for this development. This adult community proposal states that only one member of the household needs to be over 60. How many others can be in the household? An adult community should be located where there is access to public transportation, shopping, and public sewers. Turkey Hill Road is already a very busy road. Vehicles travel to get to and from the Parkway, to and from University of New Haven, Orange Campus, to and from Turkey Hill School, to and from any of the homes on Turkey Hill Road, Deer Run, Derby Milford Road, and Grassy Hill Road. Adding the proposed number of units in the development on Turkey Hill Road means up to another 75 plus vehicles entering and exiting Turkey Hill Road on a daily basis. No traffic study results have been submitted. This is a crucial missing piece. When a traffic study does get scheduled for accuracy purposes, it will need to be done when both Orange schools and University of New Haven Orange campus are holding full-time in-person school sessions. How many accidents have been reported in the last 2 years in the area of connection between Turkey Hill Road, Merritt Parkway entrance / exit, and Grassy Hill? Does this number exceed any other area in town? The application doesn't provide a resolution to the one-lane access road from Turkey Hill Road, one way in, one way out. This single-lane access road seems like it would be an issue for emergency access and exiting. Has this proposal been submitted for review to the proper authorities? I'm opposed to this submission and recommend that the Orange P&Z Commission deny this application. Sincerely, Tracy Papella. And we have one more. Dated Monday, March 15th, 2021. Dear Mr. Demerjen and members of the Tpcc, please add this letter to the Tpcc meeting agenda, March 16th, 2021. I'm writing to ask that the proposed zoning change to allow cluster housing development of the property on Turkey Hill Road and Cranberry Lane as requested by the applicant Milland LLC be denied. As was brought up in the last meeting held March 2nd, 2021, the subject property is in a wetland area. It is also noted that allowing cluster housing in this sensitive area would provide far greater opportunities for gas, oil, and sewage contamination of those wetlands. It was also noted that single-family homes would limit the instances for gas, oil, and sewage contamination by limiting the number of people and vehicles on said property and the size of the required septic tanks. What was not noted is the potential for contamination of runoff water and where it may end up. If the area does get contaminated and the contamination finds its way into the Weppawag River, then downstream contamination is inevitable. It would not be unreasonable to expect that contamination would find its way to neighboring Milford and eventually Long Island Sound, as that is where the Weppawag empties. At this point, all that is left is to draw some conclusions. Obviously, contamination from Milford to Long Island Sound would not be favorable to Orange if blame were affixed on the decision to allow cluster housing in this sensitive area. Also from the last meeting, Orange residents brought forth a host of negative reasons from safety to contamination based on a saturated human presence in this area for not allowing cluster housing on this particular site. Finally, not one person from the public sees anything desirable or favorable in allowing a zoning change to this area, observing that there are other areas in Orange more suited to the development of cluster housing. If this requested change to zoning does not serve to better the standard of living in the town of Orange, I ask one final question. Why allow such a change where the town and people of Orange potentially have everything to lose and nothing to gain? I urge members of this commission to deny a zoning change to allow cluster housing for the Milland LLC property on Turkey Hill Road. Thank you. Signed, William Norco, Orange resident.
Okay. Jack, did you have comment from the regional planning authorities that you wanted to include?
I did. Yes. I from the South Central Regional Council of Governments out of North Haven. I got a message from Eugene Lifshitz. Good morning, Jack. Thank you for submitting the proposed zoning regulation amendments to Article XIV, Section 383-27, special uses in the residential district to include standards for an active adult community. The referral was reviewed by the South Central Regional Council of Government staff, and it was determined that a review by the Regional Planning Commission is not required. based on the site location requirements within the amendment, the proposed special use would not be within 500 feet of a municipality in the South Central region. So essentially no impact. And the staff report from the Naugatuck Valley Council of Governments was also regionally significant and present no intermunicipal impacts.
Thank you. Kevin, I have just one question for you at this point, if you could. If we were to adopt the proposed amendments to the regulations, would the site plan that we considered at our last meeting comply with the regulations, in your opinion?
I don't know if it would, I don't know. I don't recall how many units are shown on that site plan. So I don't know. It would,
I thought it was 10 units, 3 units per 10 buildings, 3 units per building.
Yeah, then what's being proposed tonight is less than that. The density is
2 units less.
At least. I mean, the site can only support what the site can support with wetlands and septic. And so whether it's 28 units or 26 units, but it wouldn't be any more than 28 units. But I can tell you that the road design is the same, would be the very similar road design that's being proposed.
And this is not, the proposed regulations are not for a site specific, the way Fieldstone Village was written. This includes a much larger geographical area where these regulations would apply.
The regulations, based on requested revisions from the commission in the past, I don't know of any other site in Orange that these regulations would apply.
Well, the way I read it, it's all properties, let's see, north of the Parkway, west of Grassy Hill Road, and east of Derby Milford Road.
Yeah, but it has to have a minimum frontage of 500 feet on a town or state road or right of way, which in this case would be the Merritt Parkway, and shall have a minimum 50-foot wide common or private access way to a town road. So,
but there could be a theoretical assemblage of properties within that area I just described.
I don't think so. It's west of Connecticut Route 121, north of Route 15, and 500 feet on a state road or right of way. I don't think it would apply to.
So you couldn't have a development on Grassy Hill Road, for example. If you assembled contiguous properties on Grassy Hill Road, such that you could achieve that frontage, wouldn't it apply?
I don't know if Grassy Hill Road, this one, and north of Route 15.
Grassy Hill Road.
And east of Derby Milford Road is the other requirement.
Within that area, right? East of Derby Milford Road, west of 121, which is Grassy Hill. And north of the Parkway.
15.
The box doesn't actually close because there should be, south of Route 34, I would think, right?
Yeah, that what you're posing, Ozzy, is I think there are areas there, based upon the parameters that you just gave, that could be an assemblage.
I mean, it could even be on Derby Milford Road, on the east side of, on the east side of Derby Milford Road.
Yeah, but I do want to point out that it has to be 20 acres of common ownership as assembled as of August 1st, 2019.
Okay.
So that would eliminate somebody piecing properties together in order to comply with that.
So your intention was that, to tinker with the language, but your intention was that these regulations apply only to the Meisenheimer assemblage of properties.
Based on the way they're currently written, correct.
Okay. All right. Now, I think, Jack, that's everything that you have on file that's been submitted by the public or the municipal planning or the planning agencies. Do you have? Well, why don't we move to Kevin? If you're okay, if you don't have any further comment at this point,
yeah.
Let's move to public comment if we can. I don't know exactly how we do that, but well, with the.
Just before we get to that, we had a significant amount of public comment before. Are the letters, I think, Kevin, allowed to be incorporated into this meeting? Is that correct?
Yes.
And was everything else that was presented at that meeting, was that also incorporated into this hearing?
No, I don't think that would be appropriate.
Yeah.
I think it's just the letters because,
Okay.
as the chairman said, the letters
Were meant for this one.
most of them related
we're meant for
to both applications. So that's the only reason for incorporating them.
What did you have in mind, Paul?
So they don't have to be read again.
No, we had a discussion last meeting. I wanted to know how much of it was incorporated into this meeting. So it's just the letters is what it comes down to.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
Because we just discussed a site plan application. This is a text amendment, completely different application, so.
Okay.
Okay, so how do we, in an organized way, get to the public comment, Jack?
If we could have people start to raise hands over Zoom if they could do that. I haven't seen any interest yet.
Well, a lot of the people may have already submitted letters. It's not necessary that they reiterate,
Right.
but they're certainly welcome to.
If anybody from the public would like to comment, they could speak up now when we could obviously try to keep this in order. But I haven't heard anyone yet. If anybody would like to speak, I think we had Ms. Tui, if you would like to go ahead.
I have a question. I'm wondering if through you to the attorney, unless the board can answer this question, you're talking about how many buildings?
Well,
currently, how many buildings?
Yeah, this is an application to change to amend the zoning regulations. So there's no specific site plan that we're looking at right at the moment. What they've indicated is that, one of the things they would propose in these amended regulations is that there be not more than 28 units on this property, on a property that meets the other requirements of the zone change. But they're not really tying themselves at this point to a specific project. Kevin, you're welcome to pipe up there on.
Sure. To try to shed some light on it, it would probably be 9 or 10 buildings. I'm guessing the 9 or 10 buildings that house 2 or 3 units in them. Something along about that approximation.
But the applicant's under no compulsion at this point to submit a site plan. And the question I asked before was whether the site plan they had submitted a couple of weeks ago whether or not it would comply with these proposed amended regulations. And the answer is pretty much yes. So I mean, they would have to cut back at least a couple of units. But the site plan that we looked at last week or a couple of weeks ago would be one that we might see if we down the road if we approve the amendment that they propose to the regulations.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, it would look it would not be exact as what you've seen before, but it would look similar.
Okay, so my question, or what I was trying to just get some clarification on is that once, if you decided as a board to move forward with this text amendment, it really would then lend the developer to do basically anything within that, or what they felt they could do under their purview with this authorization, which is very concerning because it seems to me as though it's a huge development for that footprint. And to your point in your discussion prior to opening it up to public comment, is that it could also filter in to Derby Milford Road and to Grassy Hill Road. And that's kind of a frightening, thought, but that's just my opinion. So I haven't changed my mind. I'm still against the development. I think that just having a smaller footprint and doing, what should be done on that property is probably what I would deem acceptable, but that's just my opinion. So thank you for letting me speak tonight.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Next speaker.
Ms. Hackett, if you'd like to go ahead.
Sure, I would love to. Thank you so much. So this is a question actually for the applicant. So earlier you were quoting, or Attorney Kersadian, you were quoting 5 houses on this piece of property, and it wouldn't make sense because you wouldn't really be able to put a road in. It wouldn't be economically feasible to put a road in. So 22 acres, under my calculations, 22 acres, right? The zoning is 1.5 acres. So you could put 10 plus houses, possibly 12 to 13 houses. So, and you would probably have to cluster them, I'm assuming, because of the wetlands. But why was the quote talking about 5 houses when it's 1.5 acre zoning? So you really could put like 10 to 12. Is that not anything that the applicant has considered?
Yeah, for the record, Kevin Kersaden. No, the applicant has not considered that. Number one, because they would be here for a zone text change for that, because because of the site, as you correctly pointed out, Ms. Hackett, and the wetlands and the other challenges of the site, you wouldn't just be able to come in and build 12 or 13 houses. You would be in front of the board with a different zone text change and also a different inland wetlands application. So it wouldn't just be a 1-for-1 trade-off, because we could then have 1.5 acres. And I know you correctly pointed out it would have to be clustered, but the zone would also have to be amended to address that.
Absolutely correct. But I'm pretty sure that there would not be a whole lot of opposition from the neighbors for that type of development. So I guess I'm struggling as a neighbor, as a person who purchased my home in Orange 15 years ago for purposes of the zoning, why someone who has lived here their whole lives, as you've been talking about, the Meisenheimer family have raised their families here. I'm sure they all live on, well, we know that they live on 1.5 acres or probably close to that. So why they wouldn't want to be able to do something like that in this area, especially when you're comparing to Fieldstone Village. Fieldstone Village does have, I believe, maybe access to sewers, but they're also close to a main road. So it's really a hard concept for us as residents, especially in this neighborhood, to understand why you would want to try and fit 28 units on that small parcel of land.
So I will follow up with, I don't know what the numbers or the economics are of 12 or 13 houses either, whether that would make sense, but the site's an expensive, it would be an expensive site to develop and do the site plan work.
Understandable, and it's, you know, their property that they purchased. So when they purchased that, I guess that's just another difficult thing for us as homeowners to understand why you would purchase thinking that you were going to just do something that doesn't comply. So that's all. Thank you for listening, because one of the questions that First Selectman Zioli asked a long time ago of the residents is what we might accept or what we might not be opposed to. So totally understand that all of these would still need to go through the same, zoning changes, et cetera. But it would be a much more palatable situation, I think, for the community. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for your comments. I will point out, and I don't know if you'll hear from the Meisenheimers tonight or not, but the original intent of purchasing this land, and it goes back decades with the family and I think ancestors to some extent, was to have family housing or have the families live on the site. And that was the original reason, for my understanding, for acquiring the land. And as life changes and people buy their own houses and do their own thing, that didn't come to fruition. So now they have this property. So they didn't purchase it with the intent to eventually develop 28 units. It's been acquired over the years and at different points in time for an entirely different reason. And then that reason is no longer, not economically viable, but no longer viable for the family, or no longer in the cards. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, next speaker. Sounds like somebody's trying to.
I do not see anyone else speaking up. I think that is it. Everybody, one more chance if you are looking to give input. Now would be the time.
Okay.
I think that's it.
All right. Thank you, Jack. Jack, was there any comment from any of the municipal department heads that we should?
Not about this application, no, not from for the text amendment.
We're waiting for a comment from Deep, though, right?
I'm sorry, Barbara?
You're waiting for comments from Deep?
Yes, we sent out the same report that we did to the other regional planning authorities, and DEP hasn't responded yet. So yes, we are still waiting from their for their comments.
So that does that mean we can't close the public hearing tonight anyway?
I don't.
Kevin, do you have any thoughts about that? Would you want the public hearing held open to see if we will get comments?
It's not required. I mean, it's not statutorily required, and
right.
It's not required by your town regulations. So, I mean, I guess they would be nice to have. They'll probably be relatively innocuous, I'm guessing, but I don't know. I defer to the commission about that.
I don't want to close the public hearing and then, have that be viewed as a defect in our proceedings, having not, waited on those comments.
We could always amend the record after the fact if we had to.
So you have no objection to?
I don't have any objection to closing the hearing tonight, Mr. Chairman, no.
Barbara, is there any advice you want to offer on this question? Or
I agree. If the applicant is not concerned about that, it's totally within the commission's discretion. You could close tonight, or you could hold the hearing open for now. couple of weeks, whatever the commission desires.
Do other commissioners have feelings on that question?
Jack, have you spoken to anybody up at DEP at all to get a feel for when they're going to respond or no?
No, I believe I shot them an email and actually called the representative that deals with our region, and I have not gotten a response yet.
I mean, I guess I'm not sure what exactly the statute or the law is on it, but I imagine it, you know, the requirement is that notice be given. Not that we have to wait forever for their response.
No, you don't.
All right, as long as we're confident that the notice was properly given, I guess could end our discussion on it. Kevin, is there anything else that you want to add to your presentation or?
Mr. Chairman, the only other thing is just with respect to Fieldstone Village is just to put it into perspective, I believe that's 142 units on 32 acres. So this would be 26 or 28 units on 22 and a half acres if it was approved. That's the other, I don't have any other comments or responses. Thanks.
Your point is this is a much less dense development.
Yeah, correct. The numbers are, numbers reflect that.
Shut up. All right, then. Do the commissioners feel that we need to obtain more information?
Is there a gentleman named Ron Michaels who wants to discuss?
Yeah, I think there are still residents that want to speak.
All right.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Hi, everybody. This is Ron Michaels from 521 Turkey Hill Road. I just have a couple questions. One of the points that Kevin raised was that this property was always looked at as a age-restricted community to be developed on this property. I just wanted to ask the question as to, you know, the development that came forth as part of the wetlands proposal back in 2019. That was not an age-restricted proposal. That was single family or single bedroom rental units, and I believe it was more catered to like the New Haven University campus students and things like that. So I'm just curious as to why we're saying that it's tailored towards an age restricted when it hasn't always come forth in that form.
Mr. Chairman, this is Kevin Crusade, I can try to answer that. The applicant's intention has always been for it to be age restricted. When we were here going back in 2017 into 2018 and the previous zone text amendment was denied, it's the applicant's preference, strong preference, to construct an age restricted community. However, if they're not able to construct an age restricted community, they're going to develop the property in the best manner that they can or how they see fit. So that application that came forward to wetlands, which would basically closely be the same site plan with the same type of wetlands application for something that would be developed if this zone text amendment was approved, was brought forth as the precursor to an 8-30G site plan application, which is the second alternative for the applicant if they cannot get the age-restricted community zone text and site plan approved.
Michael, does that answer your question or?
Not really, but I do have another one. And the point that Kevin has made throughout this meeting has been around the economics. I've heard a lot about economics. I've heard a lot about, you know, the money side of this. And I just want to be clear that, you know, the property that was bought is the property that was bought, you know, and unfortunately for them, the developability of it is what it is. You can't fit the round peg in the square hole, no matter how you rejigger it and what you call it. It is what it is. I don't see the reason for bringing this proposal up now 3 times, which is very, has changed very slimly from the original design back in 2017. Again, the fact of this is, it is all about the economics. It's not about what's best for the town. It's not about what town residents want. The town has been very clear that this is not what they want, right? And when we talk about there being support for this proposal, if I remember correctly, the only support that was received for this was in the form of a form letter back in 2017 that was brought into as part of an entertainment, as part of a party that was held by the property owner. As all of us know, there hasn't been support for this since. The town has been very clear that they don't want this. And I just want to be very clear that I am absolutely not in favor of this development. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there someone else who wishes to speak to the application? I guess not. Jack, am I correct? And that there's nobody else that you see? I think you're on mute, Jack.
Sorry about that. Yes, I don't see anybody else at this time.
All right. Well, at this time, at some point, we got to wrap it up.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Ron was the last. Nobody else is speaking up now. I think we are okay to move on.
All right, Kevin, do you have any further comment?
No, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. So then
I just want to raise one point with Barbara. Just according to the general statute, the zoning commission is not to consider financial outcomes for a development. That is not what we're charged to consider, because that topic has been brought up. But that's not, we're health, safety, welfare, correct?
That's correct. I mean, it's fine for the applicant to raise that issue. That's often brought to a commission's attention, of course, but you're right. That's not something that should be.
Oh, we lost her.
Mr. Chairman, I just have one comment, and Barbara's voice trailed off there, so I don't know if she finished.
I'm sorry. We are in the process of getting new computers, having a lot of issues, so I apologize.
So, Mr. Chairman, I just want to bring up a point. The question was, why doesn't the developer look at some other type of development? And the answer was that the economics of the site development don't work for a lesser development. It wouldn't pan out. So it's not, the developer is sincerely trying to provide active adult units to the community, which is expressed and laid out in your plan of conservation and development. So I didn't come forth saying, there's some financial hardship. I want to make that clear. The response was into why don't you do less units, not why don't you not develop the site at all. It's why don't you do less units. So that's what I was responding to.
I'm not sure. I think what people are pointing out is that it's not like the property cannot be developed. It can be developed, maybe just not in a way that's that makes sense economically for the property owner.
Well, I'm not saying that the property can't be developed. We're here with the zone text application that we had received tacit support from town officials in the past. And we're asking that the board consider this in relation to its plan of conservation and development and comprehensive plan, and the need for active adult or over 55 or over 60 housing. I'm not, as you know, I'm not saying there's a hardship and we're seeking a variance for the site. As you also know, the board, the commission has the discretion whether to change their zone text or not. So that's what we're here for tonight.
Okay, I think point is understood. All right, then getting to the question of whether to keep the public hearing open or to close the public hearing at this point. What do the commissioners think on that question? Kevin?
I don't see any reason to keep it open.
I mean, I don't know what else what other information we need in order to make a decision. I think it's time to, make a decision. I'm not sure that there's anything further that we're going to learn on the application that's going to assist us in deciding the application. You agree with that, Paul, or?
Yeah, I don't see what we're going to gain. So it's time.
Tom, Judy?
Yeah, I mean, we did just get Attorney Kershaden's memo this afternoon, but, he did cover it in our meeting. I just wanted a little more time to review that, but I've been able to do it.
Yeah, okay. All right, well, with that in mind, is someone prepared to move that we close the public hearing?
So moved.
All right, we have a motion to close the public hearing. Do we have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Smith seconds the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All right, so it's unanimous to close the public hearing. I guess at this point we can discuss the application and put it to a vote. Who wants to begin? All right, well, let me just throw this out. I mean, just as a starting point, 2 weeks ago, we, on what I think are very solid, sound grounds, we denied the application for site plan approval for a project that would essentially be permitted by special exception if we were to adopt the amendment to the regulations that the applicant proposes. So it sort of would be a complete turnaround from what we did 2 weeks ago if we were to approve the zone change and the amendments to our regulations this evening. Am I looking at?
I think the basis of our denial of a site plan was we didn't have enough information to make a sound decision with regard to health, safety, and welfare of the community. That was my reason for denying it.
Well, we did have evidence in the record of problems with, or not problems, but issues that were raised, and you're right, they weren't addressed, but issues that were raised regarding the handling of wastewater, traffic concerns that people, I mean, we don't necessarily need a traffic report to know that Turkey Hill Road's a busy road. And we don't need, we didn't need a traffic report to know that it's even busier when school lets out and the buses leave through an exit that's, across the street from the entrance exit to the proposed proposed project. So I don't think it was just a matter of the fact that we didn't have that information, that we didn't have the information that might have helped us, that might have changed our minds.
Mm-hmm. And it was an incomplete application.
And it was an incomplete application. But again, if we say yes to what's being proposed tonight, that very project could be proposed on this parcel by a special use application.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean that we would have to approve it. Would still, there's still have to be a site plan submitted in connection with that application. But again, we need to look at what these regulations would permit at that property and decide whether that's something we're interested in doing.
I mean, I still have the same concerns on the for the health and safety of the children and the residents in that area. It's a tight road. It's a windy road. The sight lines are not great. The school is right there. I mean, those are the concerns that we've had and the community's had from the beginning. Hasn't changed.
Yeah, but technically we're considering just text, not a physical plan application at this point. So it really comes down to, in my mind, that there's no benefit to the town to consider a boutique zoning regulation that only serves to enhance this applicant's financial yield rather than advance the goals of the community at large. I think that any density enhancement to the residential regulations that can't be handled by sewer, just is a dangerous situation waiting to happen.
Yeah, I mean,
and I think, in our plan, we do discuss and providing for the aging population of Orange. It is very clear that that is a goal and objective of this commission, and therefore we have created zones where that can happen. So we acknowledge the need, and we've provided areas in town where there are sewers and city water to service a denser, population.
And we have projects.
Yeah, you can't say that we're adverse to, age-restricted housing. The regulations, our regulations provide for, encourage, promote that type of housing, but in other parts of town, we have PRD regulations in locations where elderly residents would be more well served. Possibly, that was even some testimony or some information that we got at the hearing 2 weeks ago. But access to public transportation for elderly people is more available in areas where the PRD regulations apply. Proximity to medical facilities, and things like that. Public transportation, I mentioned. Tom, any comments?
Not really, Ozzy. It does strike me as a pretty much entirely inappropriate site for this sort of development. Some of the setbacks in his memo were I think he had a setback of 20 feet from the residential zone or the property line. I mean, in my mind, at the very least, you should have a significant buffer zone. But generally, it just strikes me as an altogether inappropriate site for this sort of development.
And I know that this came up in comment from the public, but I think we've often talked about, as a commission, talked about what are the reasonable expectations of Orange residents when they buy a house in Orange, and that acre and a half, 60,000 square foot requirement means something to people. And, I think they have a reasonable expectation that the regulations are going to maintain that requirement. And so I can see why it would be very disconcerting to, having purchased a property in that neighborhood with, happy to have that 60,000 square foot property, that, a resident would be concerned, and unhappy about, a high high volume development, right across the street. You know, as far as the plan of conservation and development is concerned, couple of things I noted. Page 66 talks about protecting residential neighborhoods. Specifically in page 65 says residents, and this was referring to residents' comments when we adopted the plan of conservation and development. Residents are committed to preserving the character of the residential neighborhoods, and they want us to continue to maintain the quality, livability, and character of the community. And again, I think that goes to what people's reasonable expectations are with respect to this.
Have changed your AT&T service. This video will highlight why your charges for this month may be different than usual. Let's go over how your charges are structured and what you can expect to see every month.
Excuse me, Ken, Mr. Byrne, could you mute yourself?
Please do. Quick summary of total charges. You'll find this view of your bill beginning of every month.
Chris, would you be able to mute Mr. There you go. Thank you.
I don't know if I need to repeat that, but so the plan of conservation in development, plan of conservation and development encourages us to continue to maintain the quality, livability, and character of the community. And I think part of the livability, character of the community is 60,000 square foot lots in the residential zone. Again, in the plan of conservation and development, in the map, there's a map on page 67, and it identifies possible housing diversity areas and defines them as areas which may have potential to help diversify Orange's housing portfolio. And that's doesn't include this property, or does anybody have their plan handy?
Yes, I do.
Where does it show? Where does it show?
The hash marks are pretty much along the Route 1 corridor, going in on both sides.
That's what my notes say, mostly in proximity to the post road, where we have actually recently approved projects. The project on Neenan Road, near the Post Road and Racebrook Road, in that neighborhood in there. That's age-restricted housing. And so, it's not that we're adverse to age-restricted housing. We've identified in our regulations what we feel is the more appropriate place in town for such developments. I mentioned earlier, about pages 68 and 69, the plan of conservation and development encourages conservation design of subdivisions. Designing a subdivision in the ways they suggest there may result in a diversity of housing options and housing that is more affordable. Again, I don't know what the economics are either, but it's conceivable that a more traditional subdivision of that property along the lines described in the plan of conservation and development, could be something that we could go along with. Not sure what the economics would be for the applicant, but that's not really a consideration for us. As Judy pointed out, it's health, health, safety, welfare. And then on page 70 and 71, consider ways to help address the housing needs of our aging population. Page 71 talks about multifamily housing, market rate condominium or rental housing. And then it says, and I quote this, consider allowing where consistent, again, referring to condominium or rental housing, consider allowing where consistent with soil types, terrain, infrastructure capacity, and overall community structure. I think that this particular parcel falls short on those parameters, you know, for the reasons we've been discussing. I mean, the soil types, you know, the wetlands on the property, the terrain, the lack of infrastructure, you know, make it a difficult site to deal with, you know, in terms of its development. And I think that's about it. I mean, we talked about, you know, our PRD district where housing of the type suggested by the applicant, you know, might be permitted. We've approved projects like that before and recently. But to me, this site just doesn't, its location in the residential district just does not seem to me to be, I don't see why it's advantageous to the town in any way to change our regulations to accommodate this project. Anybody have further comment? Paul?
No, I think we've covered just about all aspects of why we feel the way we feel.
Any further comment? Kevin, Tom, Judy?
Well, I mean, just to carry on with your point that we do have areas in town where we allow for housing stock for our aging population. And we have done text amendments and zone changes to allow facilities or housing developments to serve this population. So, so we have done zone changes for it, you know, within the last 5 years.
I think one of the things in our plan of conservation and development is to maintain that, you know, residential to the north of the post road and other uses to the south.
I mean, this is a residential use. It's the density that is
but
not.
It's not the traditional residential use that people expect.
Correct.
Have a reasonable expectation of when they buy a house in Orange.
In that neighborhood.
In that neighborhood. All right. Barbara, is there anything else we need to do?
I think just make a motion.
All right. Well, okay. Is anybody, it's obvious where I stand on the issue. Is anybody prepared to make a motion that we either approve or deny the application?
I'll take a whack at it. I'll move that we deny the petition to amend the Orange zoning regulations for property owner located on Turkey Hill Road and Cranberry Lane from the property owner Midland, no, it's Myland, I guess it is, LLC, 179 NB LLC and Genvest LLC, assessors map 60-5-1 and 60-5-1A and 60-5-2 and 60-5-13 for the following reasons. Kevin articulated that there was, it was really not no substantial benefit for the town and significant downsides for the town, as that the development was far too dense for that particular area. Another reason is the protection of the area residents who have a reasonable expectation that the lots in that area are going to be 60,000 square feet. And there's not a significant reason to change from that. The plan of conservation and development identified areas for this kind of project, and this site was not listed among them. I think that covers most of the areas of why I would oppose.
Yeah, I mean, the rest of our reasoning, I think, is in the record. I don't know that we need to rehash it all for purposes of your motion, but we have a motion to deny the petition to amend the Orange zoning regulations. Do we have a second on that motion? Okay, Commissioner Tarenti seconds the motion. Any further discussion at this point? All right, hearing none, then all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? No. Okay. All right. That concludes our public hearings. Now we have on our agenda an executive session. Barbara, are you prepared to lead us in that executive session?
Yes.
All right. So do we need a motion to go into executive session at this point?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, guys, I'm sorry, make that motion and I will just kind of facilitate going into that. In terms of, because we are live now, so we're going to have to go off the air, so I will help facilitate that.
Well, we intend to come back on the air.
So you intend to come back?
Why?
State as part of the motion who you're inviting into executive session.
Okay, we're inviting into executive session the commissioners, the commission's attorney, Barbara Schellenberg, and we'll invite the zoning enforcement officer and the administrative assistant, Jack Demersion and Tammy Trentalis. All right, so we have a motion to go into executive session. We have a second.
Second.
Commissioner Cornell seconds the motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, and we'll return when we conclude executive session. We'll return to end the meeting. All right, we've concluded our executive session. We're back on the back to our regular agenda. There's nothing left on our agenda to discuss, and for that reason, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn our meeting.
So moved.
We have a motion to adjourn the meeting. We have a second.
Second.
Second, it's been seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you all. Have a good
Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Night.
Barbara. All right, good night, everybody. Good night.